A human warship appears. Galaxy Stronghold reduced to ruins, Part 1. Fortress had never fallen. For 800 years, it had floated in the orange light of the gas giant 7, a massive station of black metal and weapon platforms that stretched across 50 kilometers of space. The Dominion had built it to show their power. Every species in the galaxy knew its name. Every species feared it. High Overlord stood on the command deck and looked out at his fleet. 200 warships floated around the fortress like a swarm of angry insects. Each one was bigger than most species could build. Each one carried enough weapons to burn a planet, smiled with his wide gray mouth. He had commanded this fortress for 30 years. No enemy had ever come close to threatening it. His aide rushed forward, scales clicking on the metal floor. Overlord, we have detected a hyperspace exit. One ship. Turned slowly. One ship, what species? Human, Overlord. A sound like grinding rocks came from his throat. It was laughter. The human sent one ship to Fortress. He laughed harder. Show me. The main screen flickered to life. Against the stars, a single vessel hung in space. It was small compared to warships, maybe 500 meters long. Its hull was dark gray, covered in strange angles and flat surfaces. No curves, no decoration. It looked like a blade made of metal. What is it called? Asked. They identify as the HSS Hammer of Dawn, Overlord, Earth Destroyer class. A hammer. His red eyes narrowed with amusement. How fitting, they think they can break us. He waved one clawed hand. Open a channel, let us welcome our guests. On the bridge of the Hammer of Dawn, Captain Park One sat in her command chair and watched the fortress grow larger on her screen. She was a small woman with short black hair and eyes that showed nothing. She had served in the fleet for 20 years. She had seen combat against pirates, against rebel colonies, against 3 different alien species. Nothing had prepared her for this moment. Captain, they are opening communications, said Ensign Lee from the communications station. Put it through. The screen changed to show High Overlord. His face was gray and covered in small scales. His eyes were red like blood. When he spoke, his voice was deep and full of contempt. Human vessel, you have entered space. This is a restricted military zone. State your purpose or be destroyed. Park One stood slowly. Behind her, her crew worked at their stations in silence. Lieutenant checked tactical displays. Commander Sung ran weapon diagnostics. Chief Engineer Sung Ho monitored the power systems. Every one of them knew what they were here to do. I am Captain Park One of the United Earth Fleet, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. 3 weeks ago, your ships attacked human colony transports in neutral space. You killed 4,000 civilians. You took 200 prisoners. We want them back. Laughter echoed through the bridge. You want them back. You come to my fortress with one ship and make demands. He leaned forward. Human, do you understand where you are? Do you see my fleet? I have 200 warships. You have one. This is not a negotiation. This is not even a battle. This is an execution waiting to happen. Return our people, Park said. You have 1 hour. The laughter stopped, stared at her with those red eyes. 1 hour or what, human? What will you do? You have 1 hour, Park repeated. She nodded to Ensign Lee. The communication cut off. Lieutenant looked up from her station. Captain, they're not going to return the prisoners. They never planned to. Intelligence says most have already been sold to slave markets in the outer systems. I know. Park sat back down. Her hands rested on the arms of her chair. They did not shake. Then why give them an hour? Commander asked. He was a big man with a face. His hands itched to use the weapons he had spent his life mastering. Park turned to look at him. Because we have to, because we are human. We do not attack without warning. We do not kill without giving a chance for peace. Her eyes went back to the screen where the fortress waited. But when that chance is rejected, we do not hesitate. Around the galaxy, news drones had picked up the confrontation. The Merchant Coalition, a group of neutral trading species, had observation stations in nearby systems. Ambassador, a tall being with 4 arms and silver skin, watched the footage with growing concern. "One human ship," she said to her aide. "They sent one ship against Fortress. Are they insane?" "Perhaps they do not understand power," her aide suggested. No, had met humans before. She had traded with them. She had seen how they thought. Humans are many things. Stupid is not one of them. She ordered all recording equipment to maximum. "Something is about to happen. I want it all documented." On Fortress, ordered the human prisoners brought to the main communication deck. There were 12 of them left on the station. The rest had been shipped away. These 12 were workers, engineers, a few security personnel. They were dirty and thin from weeks of captivity. "Bring me 3 of them," said. His guards selected a man and 2 women. They were forced to their knees in front of the communication console, opened a channel to the human ship and to every news drone in the system. "Captain Park," he said, making sure the whole galaxy could hear. "You gave me 1 hour. I give you 1 minute. Watch what happens to those who threaten the Dominion." He drew his ceremonial blade. On the Hammer of Dawn, the bridge crew watched in horror as executed the 3 prisoners, one by one. Ensign Lee turned away, tears on her face. Commander's hands gripped his console so hard the metal bent. Lieutenant's face went pale, but she did not look away. She recorded everything. Captain Park once sat perfectly still. Her eyes watched every moment. When it was done, when the bodies fell and the blood floated in the station's gravity, she spoke. "Time remaining on the deadline." 47 minutes, Captain," answered. "Cancel it," Park stood. Her voice filled the bridge like ice. "All hands to battle stations. Power up all weapon systems. Prepare for combat operations." The lights on the Hammer of Dawn shifted to red. Alarm sirens echoed through every corridor. Crew members ran to their positions with the speed of people who had trained for this moment their entire careers. Park opened a channel to the Fortress. Her face appeared on screen, and this time there was no calm in her eyes. There was something else, something that made even the High Overlord pause. "You chose this," she said. "Remember that in the moments to come, you had a chance for peace. You killed it with our people's blood." She took a breath. "Now you will learn why humanity asks only once." The channel closed. The Hammer of Dawn began to move forward, alone, toward 200 enemy warships and the greatest fortress the galaxy had ever known. And across 1,000 star systems, beings of every species watched and wondered what they were about to see. A human warship appears. Galaxy Stronghold reduced to ruins, Part 2. High Overlord wiped the blood from his blade and watched the human ship on his screen. It was moving forward, slowly, steadily, like it had all the time in the world. "They are insane," said, stepping up beside him, was younger than, with darker scales and less patience. "They watched you kill their people and now they advance, against our entire fleet." "They are not insane," said, "they are proud. It is a weakness we see often in young species. They cannot accept that they are small, that they are nothing." He sheathed his blade. "Order the first attack group forward, 20 ships. Let them taste power before they die." Across the system, news drones recorded everything. Ambassador of the Merchant Coalition stood before her observation screen, all 4 arms crossed. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the dim light of her ship. "This is going to be a slaughter," her aide said. "Why are we watching?" "Because someone must record it," answered, "and because I am not sure who is going to be slaughtered." On the Hammer of Dawn, the crew moved with quiet focus. There was no panic, no fear. They had trained for situations like this. They had prepared for the day when humanity would face impossible odds. Lieutenant studied her tactical display. 20 warships approaching, Captain. Standard attack formation. They will be in weapon range in 4 minutes. "Only 20, Commander smiled from his weapon station. His face looked almost happy. "They insult us." They are testing us, Captain Park corrected. She sat in her command chair, hands folded in her lap. Her eyes never left the screen. They want to see what we can do. They expect us to run or die quickly. We will do neither. Ensign Lee looked up from her station. Her eyes were still red from crying, but her voice was steady. Captain, I am receiving communications from multiple news networks. They want statements. They want to know why we are attacking. We are not attacking, Park said. We came to negotiate. They murdered our people. This is self-defense. She paused. Send that statement to all networks. Let the galaxy know the truth. Chief Engineer Sung Ho called from his station near the back of the bridge. Captain, all systems are ready. The core is stable. We can give you everything you need. Good, Park stood. Lieutenant, what are our odds? Did not look away from her display. By standard calculations, Captain, 0. We are outnumbered 200 to 1. Our shields cannot take concentrated fire from more than 15 ships. Our weapons cannot penetrate heavy armor at standard ranges. And by our calculations, now smiled. It was a small smile, cold and certain. By our calculations, Captain, they do not stand a chance. The first attack group closed the distance. They were big ships, each one 3 times the size of the Hammer of Dawn. Their weapons glowed with building energy. Their shields shimmered blue against the black of space. Fire when ready, the group commander ordered. 20 ships opened fire at once. Beams of hot plasma crossed the distance to the human ship in seconds. The attack was enough to destroy a small moon. The Hammer of Dawn simply was not there. What? The commander stared at his screen. One moment the human ship was in front of him, the next it was gone. Where did they go? Behind us, someone screamed. The human ship had appeared behind the attack group in the time it took to blink. Its hull flickered with strange energy. Its weapons were already firing. Commander pressed his controls with the focus of a musician playing his instrument. The kinetic accelerators along the Hammer of Dawn's spine roared to life. They did not fire plasma. They did not fire beams. They fired solid projectiles at speeds that should have been impossible. The first ship exploded before its crew knew they were under attack. The projectile punched through its shields like they were not there. It punched through the armor. It punched through the reactor. The ship died in a ball of white fire. Microjump complete, Lieutenant reported, targeting second group. The Hammer of Dawn flickered again. It appeared beside another ship, fired, and was gone before the debris could touch its hull. Then another. Then another. On Fortress watched his attack group die. 20 ships. 20 ships crewed by his best officers, gone in less than 2 minutes. How's voice shook. How are they doing that? Ships cannot jump in combat. The calculations take too long. The energy requirements are. Apparently humans have solved those problems, said. His voice was cold now. The amusement was gone. Send the second wave, 50 ships. Tell them to spread out. Do not give the human ship easy targets. But the Hammer of Dawn did not need easy targets. Captain Park watched her crew work. They moved like parts of a single machine, called targets, fired, kept the power flowing. The ship jumped and jumped again, appearing in spaces they could not predict, striking before they could respond. 30 ships down, reported. Enemy fleet is beginning to adapt. They are spreading their formation wider. Good, Park said. Let them spread, it makes them weaker. She touched a control on her chair. Commander switched to gravity weapons. His eyes widened. Are you sure, Captain? We have never used them in real combat. There is no better time to test them. The Hammer of Dawn stopped jumping. It hung in space, surrounded by approaching enemy ships. They saw their chance. They closed in from all sides, weapons charging. Then something happened that none of them could explain. The space around the human ship seemed to twist. Ripples spread out like waves in water, but these waves were made of pure force. They reached the nearest ships and grabbed them with invisible hands. "Our engines," a captain screamed. "We cannot move, something has us." The gravity weapons pulled. They pulled the ships toward each other with terrible speed. The ships fought to break free, but they could not escape the grip of their own mass turned against them. When they hit hard. Metal screamed against metal, reactors cracked. Dozens of ships crashed together in a tangled mass of destruction. Ambassador watched from her observation post with her mouth hanging open. She had seen weapons before. She had seen wars before. She had never seen anything like this. "What technology is that?" her aide whispered. "I do not know." Hands were shaking. "But I think we are watching the birth of a new power in this galaxy." On Fortress, High Overlord finally understood. The humans had not come here to negotiate. They had not come here to show courage against impossible odds. They had come here to demonstrate something. They had come here to show the galaxy what happened to those who hurt humanity. "All ships ordered. All ships engage. Destroy that vessel at any cost." The remaining 120 warships began to move. Every weapon powered up. Every shield went to maximum. The largest military response in history focused on a single target. And on the Hammer of Dawn, Captain Park once smiled for the first time since the battle began. "Now," she said, "we can begin." A human warship appears. Galaxy Stronghold reduced to ruins, Part 3. The space around Fortress had become a graveyard. Broken ships floated everywhere. Fires burned in the wreckage, fed by leaking fuel and oxygen. Bodies in armor drifted among the debris. And through it all, the Hammer of Dawn moved like a ghost. Stood on the bridge of his ship, the cruiser Eternal Rage. He was part of the main fleet now, one of 120 ships surrounding the human vessel. His hands gripped his command console so tight that his claws left marks in the metal. "It is not possible," he said to himself. "This is not possible." He had just watched the human ship destroy another wave of attackers. The gravity weapons had twisted 5 ships into a ball of crushed metal. Then the human vessel had jumped behind the formation and used those terrible kinetic weapons to punch holes through 3 more. 8 ships gone in less than 30 seconds. His sensor officer called. "The human ship is changing position again. We cannot track its movements." Stared at his display. The human ship flickered from point to point, never staying in one place long enough to target. When the fleet fired, they hit empty space. When they tried to predict where it would appear, they were always wrong. On the Hammer of Dawn, Lieutenant worked her controls with the focus of someone playing a game she was born to play. Every jump was calculated in her head before the ship's computer finished processing. Every position was chosen for maximum damage and minimum risk. "Jump complete," she reported. "Enemy formation is breaking apart. They cannot maintain coordination." "Their communications?" Captain Park asked. "We are jamming their primary frequencies. They are falling back on backup systems, but those are slower." Allowed herself a small smile. "They cannot talk to each other fast enough to respond to us." Chief Engineer Sung Ho called from his station. "Captain, the jump drive is running hot. We can maintain this pace for another 30 minutes before we need to cool down." 30 minutes is enough." Park turned to Commander. "Status on our ammunition." Checked his display. "Kinetic rounds at 70%. We have used more than expected, but we are still well within mission parameters." His face showed something like joy. "These ships are tough, Captain. I enjoy the challenge." Outside, the battle continued. The Hammer of Dawn appeared beside a destroyer and fired a spread of kinetic rounds that tore through its engine section. The destroyer lost power and began to drift. Before its crew could respond, the human ship was gone. 3 cruisers tried to trap the human vessel in a crossfire. They positioned themselves in a triangle and waited for it to appear. When it did, they opened fire with everything they had. The Hammer of Dawn's shields flared bright as plasma beams struck them. For a moment, it looked like the trap had worked. Then the human ship jumped, not away from the cruisers but directly between them. The ships could not stop firing fast enough. Their weapons crossed in the space the human ship had just left. Each cruiser hit the others with full-power weapons meant for an enemy. Two of them lost shields instantly. The third exploded. "They shot each other," whispered on his ship. "We are shooting ourselves." He opened a channel to Fortress. "High Overlord, we cannot fight like this. The human ship is too fast. We are taking more damage from our own weapons than from theirs. We need to retreat and regroup." His face appeared on the screen. His red eyes burned with rage. "Retreat? You dare suggest retreat? We are the Dominion. We do not retreat from a single ship." "Overlord, we have lost 80 ships. If we continue—" "You will continue until that human vessel is destroyed." Cut the channel. Stood alone on his bridge. Around him, his crew worked in silence. They had heard the conversation. They knew what the High Overlord had ordered. They also knew what it meant. On the observation station, Ambassador had called an emergency meeting of Merchant Coalition representatives. Their holographic images floated around her bridge, each one showing a different species from across the galaxy. "You have all seen the footage," said. "The human ship has destroyed more than half the fleet. They are using technology we have never seen before." "Impossible technology," said one representative, a being with a crystalline body. "Ships cannot jump like that. The energy requirements alone would drain any reactor." "And yet we are watching it happen," brought up the latest battle footage. "The question is not whether it is possible. The question is what this means for the balance of power in the galaxy." Another representative spoke, this one a creature of floating gas. "The humans have always been strange. They come from a death world. They survive conditions that would kill any other species. Perhaps we should not be surprised that their technology is equally strange." "They have been among us for only 100 years, said. "In that time, they have gone from primitive spacecraft to this." She pointed at the image of the hammer of dawn cutting through another formation. "What will they have in another 100 years?" The representatives fell silent. None of them had an answer. On the hammer of dawn, Sergeant No Yang sat in the Marine Bay with his squad. They were 20 soldiers in heavy armor, waiting for orders. They had been waiting since the battle began. "Sarge," said one of his Marines, a young woman named Oh Min, "when do we get to fight?" "When the captain says so." No checked his weapon for the 100th time. "Our job is to board the fortress and rescue the prisoners. We cannot do that until the fleet is dealt with." "Dealt with?" Min laughed. "We are dealing with them pretty well from what I can see." No looked at the display on the wall. It showed the battle in real time. The human ship danced through space while vessels exploded around it. It was beautiful in a terrible way. "The fleet is just the beginning," he said. "The fortress itself is the real target, and that is not going to be easy." Back on the bridge, Captain Park received an update from Lieutenant. "Enemy fleet is down to 40 ships, Captain. The rest have been destroyed or disabled. Some are retreating despite orders." "Let them go." Park's voice was calm. "We are not here to kill we are here to send a message." She turned to the main screen where Fortress waited, and the message needs to be written on that fortress. "The station is powering up its main weapon," reported. "They are preparing to fire." Park nodded. "I expected they would. Commander, prepare our primary cannon. When they fire, we fire." Captain said, "Their main weapon is designed to destroy capital ships. One hit could finish us." "Then we better not get hit." Park sat back in her chair. "All hands prepare for final approach. We are taking this fight to the fortress." The remaining ships scattered as the hammer of dawn stopped playing with them and turned toward fortress. The massive station's weapon ports glowed with building energy. 800 years of unconquered history waited to add one more victory to its record. But Captain Park I was not interested in history. She was interested in justice. "Take us in," she ordered. Maximum speed. The Hammer of Dawn surged forward, alone against the greatest military installation in the galaxy. And everyone watching knew that one way or another, history was about to be made. A human warship appears. Galaxy Stronghold reduced to ruins Part 4. Fortress main weapon fired. The beam was so bright that sensors across the system went blind for a moment. It was pure destruction turned into light. Nothing in the galaxy was supposed to survive it. The Hammer of Dawn took the hit directly. On the observation station, Ambassador closed her eyes. She did not want to see the human ship die. Whatever had happened in this battle, she had developed a strange respect for the small vessel and its crew. Then her aide gasped, "Ambassador, look." Opened her eyes. The Hammer of Dawn was still there. Its hull was glowing red from the heat. Pieces of its outer armor were floating away, but it was still there. Hal whispered. On the fortress, High Overlord asked the same question. He stood before his command display, watching the human ship continue forward through the fading light of his greatest weapon. "Fire again," he ordered. "Overlord, the main weapon needs time to recharge," his weapons officer said. "At least 3 minutes. Then use the secondary batteries. Use everything." Plasma beams and missiles streamed from the fortress toward the human ship. The Hammer of Dawn took hit after hit. Its shields flared and flickered. More armor blew away into space. But it did not stop. It did not slow down. On the bridge, Captain Park gripped the arms of her chair as the ship shook around her. Red warning lights filled the air. Damage reports scrolled across every screen. "Shields at 12%, Lieutenant reported. Her voice was strained but steady. "Hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Automated systems have sealed them." "Engine status?" Park asked. "Still operational," Chief Engineer called. His station was sparking, and there was blood on his face from a cut above his eye. "I do not know how, but we are still flying." Commander worked his weapons controls with desperate speed. "Captain, we are in range for the primary cannon, but we only have power for 1 shot." "1 shot is all we need." Park stood up, even as the ship shook from another impact. "Lieutenant, target their power core. Commander, everything we have goes into this shot." The Hammer of Dawn's primary cannon was a weapon that Earth had never used in combat before. It combined kinetic force with gravitational distortion. It was designed to crack planets. Using it on a space station was like using a hammer to kill a fly. But this fly had killed humans, and Park wanted to make sure it never flew again. "Target locked," reported. "All available power to main weapon," confirmed. Park took a breath. Around her, the bridge crew waited. Ensign Lee's hands hovered over her controls. Commander's finger rested on the firing button. Lieutenant's eyes were fixed on her targeting display. "Fire," Park said. The Hammer of Dawn shook as the primary cannon released its fury. A beam of twisted space and accelerated matter crossed the distance to Fortress in less than a second. It hit the station's main shield generator first, overloading it in a flash of blue light. Then it hit the Fortress itself. On the command deck of Fortress felt the impact through the entire structure. The station groaned, a sound of metal being pushed beyond its limits. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered and died. "Report," he shouted. "What happened?" "The human weapon penetrated our shields," reported. He had returned to the fortress when his ship was damaged. Now he stood among the chaos of the command center. It hit the central power distribution hub. "We are experiencing cascade failures across all systems." "Fix it." "We cannot, Overlord." His voice was empty. "The damage is too severe. The main reactor is destabilizing. If we do not evacuate, the fortress will tear itself apart." Stared at him. For the first time in 30 years, fear showed in his red eyes. "This fortress has stood for 800 years. You are telling me one human ship has brought it down?" "Yes, Overlord." Before could respond, The communication system crackled to life. Captain Park's face appeared on every screen in the command center. "High Overlord," she said, "your fleet is destroyed. Your fortress is dying. I am offering you one chance to surrender. Release the remaining human prisoners. Submit yourself to Earth's justice. Do this and your crew can evacuate. Refuse and you all die together." His hands shook with rage. "You think you have won, human. You have won nothing. The Dominion will rebuild. We will come for your worlds with 1,000 ships. We will." "You executed our people," Park cut him off. "You broadcast their deaths to the galaxy for entertainment. There is no negotiation here. There is no future where the Dominion threatens humanity again." Her eyes were cold. "Surrender now. You have 2 minutes." The channel closed. Stood in the dying light of his command center, surrounded by officers who looked to him for guidance. He could hear explosions in the distance. He could feel the fortress tilting as its gravity systems failed. Overlord said quietly, "We should surrender for the crew if nothing else." His claws dug into his palms until they bled. 800 years of history, the pride of the Dominion, brought down by creatures who had been crawling in mud when his ancestors ruled the stars. "Open a channel to the human ship," he said. The words tasted like poison. "Tell them we accept their terms." On the hammer of dawn, Park received the surrender with no change in expression. She turned to Sergeant No, whose image appeared on a side screen. "Sergeant, you have 15 minutes. Get our people out." No smiled, the expression of a predator finally released. "Understood, Captain. We are launching now." 3 boarding shuttles left the hammer of dawn and raced toward the dying fortress. Sergeant No led his Marines through burning corridors and collapsing sections. They found resistance here and there, soldiers who would not surrender, but the Marines moved through them like water through sand. In a detention block deep in the fortress, 47 human prisoners waited in their cells. They had heard the battle. They had felt the impacts. When the cell doors opened and human Marines appeared in the smoke, many of them cried. "Let's go, people," No said. "We are taking you home." On the command deck, watched the humans rescue their people. He watched them move with discipline and purpose. He watched them help the wounded and carry those who could not walk. "They came all this way," he said quietly to himself. "One ship against everything we had, for those people." He looked at who stood in chains now, waiting to be taken aboard the human vessel. The High Overlord's face showed nothing but hate, but felt something different. He felt the beginning of understanding. Humans were not insane. They were not stupid. They were something far more dangerous. They were loyal, they protected their own, and they never forgot. Outside, Fortress began to break apart. Explosions rippled across its hull as the power core finally gave up its fight to survive. Sections of the station fell away, caught by the gravity of 7, and pulled down toward the gas giant's endless storms. The hammer of dawn pulled back to a safe distance, its hull unburned but its crew alive. Behind it, the greatest military installation in the galaxy died in fire and light. And across 1,000 worlds, beings of every species watched in silence as 800 years of history ended in a single afternoon. A human warship appears, Galaxy's Stronghold reduced to ruins, Part 5. The hammer of dawn hung in space, surrounded by the debris of battle. Behind it, the last pieces of Fortress fell into the clouds of 7. Orange light from the gas giant painted everything in colors of fire. It looked like a funeral for a world. On the bridge, Captain Park 1 allowed herself to breathe. Her ship was broken in a dozen places. Her crew was exhausted, but they had won. They had done what no one in the galaxy believed was possible. "Captain," Ensign Lee said softly, "Sergeant No reports all prisoners are aboard, 47 survivors. They are in medical now." "Good." Park closed her eyes for a moment. 47 out of 200. The rest had already been sold to slavers or killed during captivity, but 47 was better than none. 47 families would see their loved ones again. "Captain," Lieutenant added, "High Overlord is secured in the brig. He is demanding to speak with you." "He can demand all he wants." Park opened her eyes. "He will face trial on Earth. What he wants no longer matters." Commander looked up from his weapon systems. Most of them were offline now, burned out from overuse. He had pushed them beyond their limits. He had no regrets. "Captain, we should move before reinforcements arrive." "They will not come." Park pulled up a display showing fleet movements across the sector. "The Dominion is recalling all ships to defend their home systems. They think we are coming for them next." "Are we?" asked. Park shook her head. "No, we came here to send a message. The message has been sent." She looked at the debris field one more time. "The Dominion will fall eventually, but it will fall from within. Their subject species have seen what happened here. They know they can be beaten. That knowledge is more dangerous to the Dominion than any weapon we carry." On the observation station, Ambassador finished her report to the Merchant Coalition. Her hand still shook as she spoke. The battle lasted less than 3 hours. In that time, a single human destroyer eliminated over 160 warships and destroyed Fortress. The technology they displayed, particularly the micro-jump capabilities and gravity weapons, represents a fundamental shift in military power within the galaxy. She paused, gathering her thoughts. "My recommendation is immediate. The Merchant Coalition must pursue peaceful relations with humanity. We must avoid any action that could be seen as hostile. We must remember what happened here today." Her aide leaned forward. "Ambassador, some will say we should fear the humans, that any species capable of this destruction is a threat to us all." "Perhaps," looked out at the debris field, "but consider this. The humans came here because they attacked their civilians. They gave warnings, they offered chances to stop. The destruction we witnessed was not aggression, it was response." She turned back to her aide. "I do not fear a species that fights to protect its people. I fear a species that attacks without reason. Though we're that species. The humans simply showed them the consequences." Across the galaxy, the footage of the battle spread like fire. News networks played it on every world. Military commanders studied every frame. Politicians gathered to discuss what it meant for their societies. On one world, a council of old and powerful beings watched the recording in silence. They had ruled their sector for 10,000 years. They had thought themselves masters of the galaxy. Now they watched a young species accomplish something they had never dared to try. "We should contact the humans," one of them said. "Perhaps an alliance." "We should destroy them," another argued, "before they become too powerful." The oldest of them, a creature so ancient that its body was more machine than flesh, spoke last. "We will do neither. We will watch. We will learn. And we will remember that the galaxy has changed today. The old powers are no longer supreme. New forces are rising, and we must adapt or be forgotten." On the Dominion Council met in emergency session. They had received the footage. They had seen their greatest fortress fall. Now they had to decide what to do. "We must strike back," one council member shouted. "Send every ship we have." "To where?" another responded. "Their worlds are defended. We saw what one ship could do. How many ships do they have? Dozens? Hundreds? Do you want to find out?" The arguments continued for hours, but slowly a consensus formed. The Dominion would not attack human space. Not now. Not until they understood how to fight this new enemy, if they ever could. In the brig of the Hammer of Dawn, High Overlord sat in his cell and stared at the wall. His claws had worn grooves into the bench from gripping it so hard. Everything he had built, everything his people had achieved, gone in a single day. A guard appeared outside his cell. A human, young, female. She looked at him with eyes that held no fear. "We are approaching the jump point," she said. "You will be on Earth in 3 days. Just thought you should know." "Why?" His voice was rough. "Why did your people come? Why risk so much for prisoners you could not save?" The guard tilted her head as if the question confused her. Because they were ours, because we do not leave our people behind, ever. She started to walk away, then paused. You killed 3 of them on camera. The whole galaxy watched. Did you really think we would just accept that? She left, sat in silence. He had thought exactly that. He had thought humanity was like every other young species, eager to prove themselves but quick to submit when faced with real power. He had been very wrong. On the bridge, Captain Park recorded her final log of the mission. Her voice was tired but steady. Mission complete. Fortress is destroyed. The fleet in this sector has been eliminated. 47 human prisoners have been recovered. High Overlord is in custody to face charges for crimes against humanity. She paused. We did not want this fight. We came to the stars seeking friends, seeking knowledge, seeking new worlds to explore. Instead, we found those who saw our kindness as weakness, who took our desire for peace as permission to attack. Another pause. They understand now. The whole galaxy understands now. Humanity asks for peace. We work for peace. We hope for peace. But when peace is impossible, when our people are threatened, when our enemies leave us no choice, we do not hesitate, we do not forgive, and we do not lose. She ended the recording. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, preparing for the jump home. They were heroes now, whether they wanted to be or not. Their names would be remembered for generations. Chief Engineer approached her chair. Captain, we are ready to jump. All systems are stable. Well, stable enough. Park smiled slightly. Get us home. Our people have waited long enough. The hammer of dawn aligned with the jump point. Its engines, battered but unbroken, pushed it forward. In a flash of light, the human ship disappeared from space. Behind it, the debris of Fortress continued to fall. And on 1,000 worlds, beings of every species looked up at the stars and wondered what humanity would do next. In the depths of space, a general stood on the bridge of the only surviving ship from the battle. He had fled when the fortress began to fall. He was not proud of it, but he was alive. He stared at the recording of the battle, playing on loop on his personal display. One ship. The humans had sent one ship, and that one ship had destroyed everything. Sir, his aide asked, what are your orders? The general did not answer immediately. He watched the footage of the hammer of dawn dancing through his fleet, untouchable, unstoppable. He watched Fortress break apart. He watched 800 years of history end. Tell the fleet, he said finally. Tell everyone, never attack the humans again, not their ships, not their colonies, not their people. He turned off the display. Because if this is what they send for prisoners, imagine what they would send for revenge. And across the galaxy, that message spread. Slowly at first, then faster. Species that had considered humanity prey began to reconsider. Empires that had ignored humanity began to pay attention. And somewhere, in the halls of power on 100 different worlds, leaders made the same decision. Do not anger the humans. Do not threaten what they love, because if you do, they will come for you. And when they come, they will not stop until you fall.